They're just collecting metadata, right? They're not really listening in on our phone conversations. Would they do that? They wouldn't be breaking the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution on purpose, and then they wouldn't be committing a criminal conspiracy afterwards to cover it up. Would they? I don't know. I'm watching Rachel Maddow, and she found out something from Reuters.
Tips derived from NSA mass surveillance are being handed over to domestic American law enforcement through agencies like the DEA for things like regular old non-terrorist American crimes committed by Americans. According to Reuters, a secretive DEA unit is funneling information from intelligence intercepts to authorities across the nation to help them launch criminal investigations of Americans.
So it's okay. Nothing's really happening. Yes.
I don't like the sound of that.
So I forgot to write jokes for this clip, but that is still...
I had some jokes.
I mean, I forgot to write them. You wrote them, and then I forgot to write them down.
Take our word for it, folks. Those jokes were good.
This is some solid intelligence here. We got some solid jokes. I mean, we can act on it.
So, Ben, turns out they're listening to our phone conversations. There's one more clip. And guess what they're doing? So after they send that information, the DEA takes that information, and they send it to local law enforcement, like they're not supposed to be doing. And then what do they do after that?
Reuters also reporting that law enforcement officials are getting trained that once they get these tips from NSA surveillance and other places, they should cover up that the information that they got came from any of those surveillance programs. They should instead pretend that they got the information through traditional legal law enforcement means. They should launder the source of the information.
That's a great line on her part. Such a great line. Launder the source.
They
of the
should launder, right. That's what makes us the greatest country in the world. If they don't tell us they're violating our civil rights,
right? Yeah,
that's why we're the best,
that's
right?
That's why we're number one. Yeah. I think I was really wrong about something we've talked about this so much on so many TYG shows, and I thought, like, we're never going to win this. Like, we know we've seen too much TV. Like, we watched, we go back to the net. Like, and we know that, like, look, this happens. That's why it didn't shock people, is that we've, 24, Jack Bauer, they're like, and they know everything about it, right?
Yes.
So it didn't strike us as anything terribly unusual. And then you see those numbers, people think they're actually not doing what they're saying with the program, but still 50% of the people are like, hey, go forward. But then the more these stories come out, and here's where I think I was wrong. I thought we wouldn't care, and then we have to now live in this world. And to some extent we do, but that will change.
You think?
I'm actually heartened that it's 44% who oppose this program, because as the stories break, little stories like this, this is a bigger one that the Reuters uncovered, that we can look into this and use this information for other things that have nothing to do with terrorism. When we get specifics on that, and at some point there'll be, no, we went after this guy because of information we uncovered from an NSA tip. It was not, and they didn't.
So we can put a face to it, you mean?
As soon as we start putting a face to it, let alone hundreds of faces or thousands of faces, let alone the time when somebody uses it as one of those analysts, one of those Edward Snowden guys, looks up his ex-girlfriend with the camera and puts it up on the internet of her dancing naked in her room.
Or the guy banging his ex-girlfriend. He's going to get some dirt on her and send it to the cops. And I know it sounds bad, Ben, but if we don't give the cops the tools to catch criminals, they're going to have to go back to planting drugs. And I think we need to keep them. I mean, really, I'm sure it's just I'm sure it's just a few bad cops that are doing this, because the majority of cops are waiting to see if the good ones get away with it, and then
right before they go.
Yeah, and then they're going to go after it, right? Come on, everybody knows you can't make an omelet without breaking the Constitution. Come on.
I don't know. I think we're at 44%, man. That's not that. You push it to 55%, all of a sudden, look, Obama this week. He was like, look, this is the dialogue that Edward Snowden by himself created.
Yeah.
We are, all of a sudden he's talking about a court. Looking over this stuff. If it's a real court, not the bullshit FISA court,
right?
Then maybe it's a little something.
And of course, that just shows, of course they're using that information to get guys selling drugs, because the biggest threat to our country isn't terrorism, it's dudes selling weed.
Totally.
Wise guys. Again, it goes back to wise guys.
Back to wise guys.
These wise guys and their marijuana things that they use to cause mass amounts of crime. Stoners, which is, we all know stone is an implement of destruction.
Yes.
So Yeah,
Oh,
it's
Trayvon Martin had a whole sidewalk of
he
stone that he was
walks
menacing
around
the whole neighborhood with.
He carries
Yeah.
that sidewalk in his back pocket.
Every
Used as a
step he
weapon.
took on that sidewalk,
Whenever
it
a
was
guy chases him at night in the dark with a gun, he just whips out that sidewalk.
Yeah.
Bam!
Bam.
Hits him right in the head with it.
I think people are going to start talking in code a lot more and be a lot more use of the actual snail mail system because of this kind of thing. I'm going to start sending letters now. Just sending letters in like weird prison code. And like, yeah, go ahead, NSA, read it. Go ahead, enjoy opening my mail that I used to wipe my bottom with.
I mean, are they going to find out when one of my friends, Bill Dwyer, calls me up to buy pot for him because he doesn't want to get his medical marijuana card? And that's going to trip off a thing, and then they're going to go, hey, Jimmy Dore's getting weed for his buddy. You got to meet him down at the Improv.
Although, again, this week, same thing. In addition to maybe getting a court to look over some of this NSA stuff, all of a sudden the Justice Department finally like, yeah, all right, enough with the weed.
Yes.
Enough with putting the guys
Yes.
who just have weed in prison. And if they're not violent, maybe we can figure out a way to get them out, especially if they're old. Like, those were like incrementally little steps in the direction of some degree of righteousness.
That's okay. All right, baby steps? Is that what you're saying? Baby
Wasn't
steps?
that motivated by the prisons just being so full?
Yes.
They couldn't. So I think it's a thing where, like anything, it's going to continue as long as it can continue until it can continue no longer.
Right. Until it's not sustainable anymore,
Right.
which we've reached that point. It's not sustainable anymore.
Right.
We're firing cops, teachers, and firemen, and we're still increasing our prison. We, imprison more people in China, and half of those people are nonviolent drug offenders, and all that is a cash cow for local police departments as we know it.
Cash cow for local police departments and the burgeoning private prison corporations.
Yes, private prison corporations,
They're
of
also
course.
using a loophole in the civil asset forfeiture law that was started to bust drug dealers. They're using that now to take like regular people's things away from them for using information that's gathered under the
I would
Home
actually find
Security.
that handy.
Yeah.
Like,
What?
I could use some asset forfeiture. Like, I got a lot of shit, and if somebody would just come in and make that decision for me, I think it would be helpful.
Do you want me to come by with a clipbout?
Yeah, it would come.
I can help you. I can take some of that
Like,
shit
I'd
off your
object to
hands.
it at first, but like hoarders, you'd be like, you know what, I don't need that.
Ben, I have a feeling. Now, I don't think you really need your house. I've been to that street in Santa Monica. You'd be much better off in Pasadena.
You think so?
Yeah, so we're going to take your house.
All right.
And you're going to forfeit it.
Right, yeah.
And we're going to move in there. No air conditioning. It's Santa Monica. Who
You don't
cares?
need it.
Who needs the AC?
Open the window.
Who needs the AC? I do every night at 8 p.m. at CNN. I need AC.
Wolf Blitzer needs it because he's got all that stubble. It's just got to make him hot,
Yeah.
He runs hot.
He's like a hot football.
Yeah.
Yeah.